listen to the Guitar Heroes podcast.
And we are live on the podcast. Yeah, I'm with Chris Taylor.
Oh, damn it! No, that's not right.
Do not edit this out.
Oh, dear,
Oh, God,
dear,
it was going so well. This is supposed to set the mood for today, but... do you know, I can't do it.
He has set the mood for today. It's all going to go wrong.
I'll set the mood. I'm every woman. It's all in me. Go on.
Anything you want, baby. Right, listen. Today's podcast, right, it's all our favourite subjects. We're going to talk about girls and guitars. Oh, yes,
Okay.
let's talk about girls and guitar. Because, well, and actually, before we get stuck into it, let's just have a quick catch-up. What sort of week have we all had, Christopher Taylor?
It's been a good week, actually. Just been doing lots of playing, revisiting some of the songs from the show, just getting back into the swing of things. As you kind of hear the announcement that things might be getting back to normal in June with gigs and things, I'm like, oh, excitement is building. So Helix is out. Hashes being
I'm
made.
not holding my breath. I'm being a bit of a grumbleweed on this. So I'm not holding my breath
Oh,
because the
no,
first
no.
4 days of the kids going back to school, they got shut down again, didn't they, in Weymouth? It's like, great job, guys, great job. So I was like, oh no.
No.
Anyway, never mind all that. Never mind. Lee, how are you doing? You all right there, sat in your wherever you are these days?
I thought you were going to say sat in my underpants. I've got my trousers on.
Uh-huh.
Which, Chris, have you?
Yeah, and I'm not drinking green tea this evening either.
Oh, he's back on
What
the
are you
Chrissy's got a bit of the Hop House 13 going on.
Which means in 10 minutes his trousers will be off.
Half a bottle, mate. Yeah.
I'm on the Mexican, the Sol beer because the sun's out again today, so, you know.
Okay. Well, I'm still on port, and I've got another bottle. I've got a new bottle, so chances are...
Oh, my God.
I've actually only got half a pint here of port, so I'm probably going to be working my way into this. I'll need to find a knife to get it through the bottle, though. I'll work that out, though, as the podcast carries on.
I can't believe you're actually bringing a fresh bottle of port to the podcast.
Well, to be honest, I just leave it in my studio now. I don't even take it in the house. I just got a bottle of port down under my desk.
Studio/cellar, I think.
Studio/bar. Welcome to the bar. Yes.
I've actually had a bit of a guitar nerdy day, as you've probably seen from the picture I sent you. I've been messing around with my new bass. Finally got my new pickguard, my new scratch plate on there.
You didn't send me a picture of your bass. You sent me a load of lingerie.
Oh no! Oh no! Wrong person.
Yeah, well, it happens to me. I sent you my bush, didn't I? So.
Well, you did actually. Yeah. So I went to B&Q as well and got myself some wet and dry. Because a couple of little guitar projects this week, I needed to get my scratch plates in order. So I've got my nice new tortoise pickguard on my white bass, and I've got a different scratch
Which looks
plate.
great, by the way. You sent me the picture. You
cool.
didn't send me lingerie. It looks really, really good.
It does look cool. I've got a new scratch plate for my Strat, but I've got I've never really been happy with the sticky finish on the back of my Strat neck. So the time has come. The wet and dry is out, and I'm going to go at it tomorrow and sand off that nitro, because
That's the same as my Brad Paisley Telly. That's got a nitro on the back of it, and that was horrendous, and I just sanded that off within the first week of buying it. It feels much nicer now. Yeah.
Well, I did it to my old bass, and it just worked great. I just love that satin feel of the wood, and the new bass that I've got is that kind of a feel. It's great. So the old Strat tomorrow, going outside, and it's got a hot date with this wet and dry paper. So.
I used to remember dates like that before I was with Jay. You wet and dry dates. Yeah,
we need to get back to gigging, because that's all the excitement I've got to report. That's me. You know,
what you just said was really boring.
I'm sorry. But these are the things that I'm looking forward to at the moment. It's, I didn't want to do too much today because I want to save myself something to look forward to tomorrow. So I went to B&Q today. I bought the wet and dry, but I'm going to save it to do tomorrow. Got to spread
If Chris
these
finds
jobs
Guitar
out.
listen, if Chris finds Guitar Geekery boring, then Chris needs to get out. He really does.
Yeah.
I did get a new vinyl this week, which I think Chris, I think you've seen.
I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it?
I know I've mentioned them before, but I'll mention them again. The Brothers Landreth. I got their first record. They released, every now and again they'll do a limited pressing of vinyls, and they
What
announced
is it with you
last
and the
week.
Brothers Landreth?
Clearly,
I bet you'll be so pleased when they lift that restraining order and you can go watch them again.
well, definitely, but clearly if you heard that album, you would know why.
Phil, have you not listened
I
to
don't know anyone with an album.
the album's Let It Lie? Have you not heard it?
No.
Phil, you would love it because it has definitely got a bit of that sort of country Americana vibe in there, as well as just phenomenal singing, slide guitar, and all that stuff. Anyway, they did a fresh run of vinyls, and they were personally signing them. So I was like, yes, give me some of that. And it sounds killer. I said to you
well,
today,
listen,
Chris,
chaps, I have a birthday coming up soon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
Good.
I like it
There's
when
nothing.
the
I haven't bought a new
delivers.
vinyl for ages. I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe
Actually, it's been a long time since I bought a record. The last album I bought was actually a CD of the Tedeschi Trucks band.
Oh, okay.
Derek Trucks' band with his wife Susan Tedeschi, who's a fantastic female guitarist.
Nice tangent there, Chris.
But let's just go straight into the
you
podcast
almost sound
then.
professional.
Let's do it. In case you haven't guessed from the title, guys, this week's podcast is all about female guitar players. It's pretty much a well-known fact that this business is a bit of a male-dominated business. That are a lot more male guitar players than female. But I have noticed in the last 10 years or so, there's always been female guitar players, but there's been there seems to be loads and loads more female guitar players out there, especially, on Instagram and Facebook. You see more and more. And I know Lee follows a lot of them, don't you, Lee? He did.
No comment.
No comment, yeah. But it's obviously, like I said, there's been a lot of female. Back to the early days. In the 50s, there's Mary Ford, who was Les Paul's wife for a time. And there was Les Paul and Mary Ford, which is that's a great album as well. Les Paul and Mary Ford album, that's good. And there was Sister Rosetta Tharpe as well, who was a gospel singer and guitar player, quite well known for playing the YSG.
Yeah, she was considered like the godmother of rock and roll, wasn't she? Like she actually influenced guys like Little Richard and Chuck Berry and those guitar
do you know
players
what?
to follow.
I was watching a little bit of footage of her on YouTube today, and I tell you what, to say it was back in the 60s, she was rocking, man. She really was.
Do you know, she was actually
gospel, and it was it's brilliant.
Yeah, she was one of the first guitar players to ever use distortion on a guitar.
Yeah, wow. Brilliant.
Yeah,
yes.
so it's amazing. But do you think like maybe obviously when in the 60s when the guitar became obviously so popular, obviously women, I don't know, obviously the role of the male guitarist was so prominent, like with the likes of Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page, and it's almost a catch-up thing for women to kind of get on board, and like it's constant catch-up with these guys, isn't it? I think, and
oh, totally. I mean, let's face it. It was quite a sexist world back then, wasn't it?
It was.
Men went out and worked. Women had babies and did the house. So can you imagine? The bloke coming back from work and his wife in the 60s saying, right, I'm just going to band practice. I'm taking the twin and the 62 Strat with me. And, it wasn't heard of then. Was it like a lot of things for women?
I wonder why that is, though. I wonder where the separation started. Because if you look at other instruments and you look at other genres of music, there's definitely more of a kind of equal share. I mean, you look at pianists and any of the sort of orchestral instruments, and if you look, you'll see a pretty even spread and some fantastic female players. I wonder why it was that way back. I mean, we're probably talking in the 30s and 40s. Why it was that the guitar really was just taken under the arm of men, because those instruments are equally as old, if not older. I mean, things like the piano, like I know there was an inequality back then, but those instruments also existed back then as well.
But do you think maybe because it was a male-dominated industry in the sense of manufacturing, that it was pushed
manufacturing the guitars?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I watched, when I was a kid, there was a program, Equinox, and it was called Twang Bang Kerrang, and it was all about the electric guitar. And there was a professor on there, and he was talking us through the Jimi Hendrix concert where he set fire to his Strat, and he's been quite graphic with his with his lighter fluid,
Yeah.
And this guy's basically, cut long story short, is basically saying that the guitar is basically an extension of your penis and all this type of thing, and maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe men looked at it as, like people look at big Audis now. That type of thing, but the guitar was maybe like that, and maybe it was a little bit. Maybe it wasn't the done thing for a woman to be seen.
No, but I think you said, Phil, female guitar players have always been there, haven't they? And I think they maybe just existed in a slightly different capacity, really, as opposed to being the showman of, all the shredding guitar and setting fire to it. They were like, you would hear them more in, like with Joni Mitchell, she was like a songcraftswoman, wasn't she? She'd write amazing songs which were guitar driven. So you'd hear the guitar in a different light, I suppose.
Do you think it's less of a reflection of the guitar and more a reflection of the typical guitar genres of music? So it's not necessarily the guitar that became more of a male-driven instrument, but it's really, we're talking rock and blues. Really, when you think guitar, you think about rock and roll and all that. Do you think it's more the music scene? Because, like you say, Joni Mitchell, in the folk scene, there's definitely more of an even share of men and women, isn't there? Yeah,
I think early on, definitely. I think as soon as you get to maybe the 80s, obviously you got female guitar players like Joan Jett, and I think you start to see more of a female-led guitar players. I think, but definitely early on, I think it was definitely kind of a stylistic thing. It's got to be, surely.
Well, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read off a bunch of female guitar players, and so some are from the 80s, like you've just said, Chris, and some are more modern. And you've probably heard of all of these anyway, but for our listeners that may not have heard of so many female guitar players, we've got Bonnie Raitt, which I believe that's what you were playing earlier, Chris.
Trying, yeah. Well, she was. You asked us to choose. You said to just maybe pick one female guitar player, and she's mine. I've got a little bit about her actually, but
okay.
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a sec. Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So we've got Nancy Wilson from Heart. We were talking about this before we went on air. This lady, Susan Tedeschi.
Yes.
Sheryl Crow. Who's a bass player as well.
I didn't know that.
She does, actually. Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, you don't necessarily think of guitar instantly, do you? More of a singer.
Yeah. She is a guitar player. Great player. One of my favourites, Lindsay L. She was on the Premier Guitar Rig Rundown.
One of your favourites.
So yeah, we like Lindsay L. So she was on the Premier Guitar Rig Rundown. So if you get on that, it means you've made it. You're as famous as you can be, right? Another guitar player from the 80s was Lita Ford, a metal player, and a more modern metal player, Nita Strauss. Which Lee's you've met Nita Strauss, haven't you, Lee?
I have, yeah. I've had the pleasure.
She did a workshop at Absolute Music, which
she did.
You never invited me to. I'm gutted about that. But
you were banned from that one, Phil.
That's probably why. Okay, fair enough. Gretchen Menn, as well, who's maybe not quite as well known, but still an incredible player. I mean, the guys, go out and people that are listening to this podcast, go on Instagram and follow these people and watch the videos on there, because they're really great players. They're fantastic. Samantha Fish, who's a great blues player. Joanne Shaw Taylor, British guitar player.
Yeah, she's good.
She's really good. She was at Premier Guitar Rig Rundown as well, so she's made it.
Oh,
she's as famous as she can be.
Yeah.
Where are you? Larry Basilio, who is one of my favourite guitar players. She's just
like the female version of Guthrie Govan, isn't she? She's
incredible. Yeah, I was watching some stuff on YouTube, and I'm thinking she's playing like some really nice chordal stuff. And then it came to a solo, and I turned it off. I just went, "Whoa, that's just blown my mind! What a
too
player.
much."
Incredible.
Yeah, she has like an all-star band on tour with her as well. She's
Well, there's a video on YouTube, and she's got Nathan East on bass, Vinnie Calahoot on drums, and Greg Fillinganes on keys.
Yeah. And I don't know if
Don't get much better than that, does it?
I think it's her latest album, or the album before last that she released. Had Joe Satriani on that. I think she teamed up with Satriani for that one, and
there you go.
So they're definitely on an even par there.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So then we've got Orianthi, who the first time I ever saw Orianthi, Australian guitar player, was I don't know if you've seen this, guys. This Is It, Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, great
and I think she was nobody really heard of her much before that, I don't think. But guys, go check This Is It. It's basically Michael Jackson's rehearsal videos of before he was going to tour, his last tour, and obviously the tour never happened because he died. But so that's a great rockumentary, concert video type thing. It's brilliant. And just a side note, a lot of people used to say, "Oh, Michael Jackson, he lost it. He was this or that." To watch that, he was on it. He was
blew
fantastic.
my mind. And the fact that he had the pick of any guitar player in the world and went with her.
Well, he's obviously famously had a kind of a thing for having a female guitar player, because I'm sure you were going to
get onto that in a second. Yeah. I was going to get onto that in a second. Yeah. Yes, definitely. So, so we've got Orianthi there, and that leads in really nicely, to this next thing, because it's almost like we'd planned this, but we really haven't. Prince. Now, Prince was well known for having female guitar players, and one of the last sort of outfits he had was his band. They called it Third Eye Girl. And in that was Donna Grantis on guitar, her pedal board is enormous. It's about the size of the Isle of Wight. This pedal board is it's huge. And then on bass guitar in Third Eye Girl, I hope I get her name right. It's Ida Nielsen on bass.
Oh yeah,
I wanted to say Ida, but I think it's Ida Nielsen.
Ida,
on bass.
Is it Ida? It's
well, it says
like
Ida, but I watched her on the YouTube. She introduced herself as Ida.
Right.
What an incredible, one of the funkiest bass players I've ever heard. Man, she's incredible. And I'm going to mention a drummer here. I think one of my favourite drummers, whether it's male or female, was Prince's drummer in Third Eye Girl, and she's called Hannah Welton. Look her up. She's She's just incredible. She's got one hell of a feel. And she's always singing along as well. It's great. She looks so happy when she's playing. You know, it's like you can do a ballad and she looks like she's beaming. She just looks so happy. And what else was I going to bring up here? Oh, yeah, just a quickie as well is the Iron Maidens. There's a female tribute to Iron Maiden called themselves the Iron Maidens. And they're great. They're
that's really actually, that was where Nita started.
Yes, it was. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then, leads us into probably my favourite is Jennifer Batten.
She's the sort of archetype for the ultimate female. Certainly in her day, she's certainly when I think of like female rock goddesses, then Jennifer Batten back in the day with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, wow. Well, it's I mean, she's played with Michael Jackson. She's played with Jeff Beck. In fact, there's some footage. I think she was doing this when she was in Jeff Beck's band, because she played like guitar synth as well in that band. And the was it Letterman, or one of those American type chat show things? Jeff Beck was on there with the band that did a song, and he said something about Jennifer. He said, "Oh, yes, you got Jennifer Batten on guitar like that, and yeah, she's good." And Jeff Beck said something like, "Yeah, mate, too bloody good," or words to that effect.
Yeah.
So I mean, Jeff Beck's giving you that sort of credit. It's amazing. But we were really, really lucky because it must be at least 2 years ago now. We were playing at G Live in Guildford with the Story of Guitar Heroes, and I got an email from somebody, and he said, "Oh, I'm friend of Jennifer Batten. She'd love to, blah blah blah. I'd love to come see the show in Guildford. And of course, we get all sorts of emails, and not all like that, but you just kind of go, yeah, right, okay. And so we replied and said, oh, great, yeah, she'd love to come see the show and this type of thing. So we put a couple of tickets aside, thinking nothing of it. And then, sure enough, Jennifer Batten turns up to watch the show. And we're like, not that there was any pressure. I think it was Jay came backstage and said, she's here. And I was like, I wish you'd have told us afterwards.
Yeah.
So then we're like, go on stage thinking, hang on a minute, she's toured with Michael Jackson, Jeff Beck, she's an incredible musician. And we're just about to go on. I mean, forget about the other 500-600 people in the audience. I don't care about them now. That's easy. You just got to impress one person.
You just go out there and you just see a beam of light above her, and your eyes are just focused on her. And it's like
she is quite recognisable as well. She's still to this day. She's got the blonde hair. So
great image.
I think we were sort of all like, "Where is she? Where is she?" Like, oh, I think she's there, third row.
I mean, luckily the show went really well, and we went out afterwards and met her, and she was lovely. She really was.
Yeah.
And then me and Jay went for lunch with her in London a few days after that, and we were supposed to be like an hour, couple of hours, something like that. So it was like 6 hours later. We've been talking guitars and the business, and honestly, she's down to earth. She's lovely. She's great, and they always say kind of never meet your heroes and what have you, but. I don't know. She was great. I would say, yeah, do meet your heroes if they're all like her.
I think the Michael Jackson Association. Michael Jackson he's just everything that seems to surround him. The legend is just another world entirely. So when you meet someone that's been a part of that world, I found it quite strange how nice and how normal she was, because you're talking to someone here who has toured. She's been a part of that puzzle, and Jeff Beck and all these players, but then to meet someone they're just people, they're just nice, normal people. It was very, very surreal, and I think there's a nice picture of us, isn't there, somewhere on the Instagram if you go online and have a look. There's a picture of us all together, which was awesome. So thank you, Jennifer, for that. That was cool.
It was really, really funny because we were waiting for her in the lobby of this hotel where we had lunch with her. And when we arrived early, because if anybody knows me, if you're on time, you're late. That's my motto. So we were early, and I was like, oh, you know what? I said, I'll just nip to the loo before she gets here. And I got there, and I went to the loo, and I came back, and Jay goes, oh, she's here. She's just gone through that. I went, no, she isn't. What are you talking about? And then in the end, then she walks through. It's kind of right what you're saying. It's a surreal moment, when you look back through old footage and what have you, and you see her playing to 80,000 people.
It's iconic. Those images of those tours back in the day. I guess it was the 80s, early 90s, was it? And seeing there's just some of the most iconic images of Michael Jackson. I mean, most iconic images of any kind of performance concert that there will probably ever be. And she's there. She's one of the main components of it. So. Yeah, to meet her and to just have a chat and be very welcome in her company was amazing. Actually, that was the second time. That was the second time I met her, because she came to town as part of a Michael Jackson tribute show that she just joined for a few dates, and
she did Weymouth Pavilion because we were both there, weren't we?
Yeah. And just a random coincidence, but I happened to know the guy that was running that show, and we went backstage and met them, and it was like really just an opportunity to meet Jennifer. And again at that time,
did you sabotage her amp then?
Just so no, but I tried to. Her amp had blown up, malfunctioned on the day, and I did try to help out. I did try to step in, but someone came forward and the show went on. But yeah, so it was kind of weird. I met her then in a completely I'm just a bloke that came to the show, and hello, Jennifer, it's nice to meet you. And then to meet her again years later, having had her come to see our show, it was quite weird.
Yeah.
Quite weird.
I wonder what it must have felt like for her, being in the 80s, being on stage with Michael Jackson, performing to those size audiences, because prior to her, no one had really no female guitarist, not that I'm aware of, has done anything like that. And you got Van Halen and those guys up there performing to huge audiences with Roth and stuff, and then she comes out and performs with Michael Jackson, and it must be
totally surreal.
She must be aware of what she's doing at that moment. Like,
by all accounts,
making history.
Playing to people like that is a lot easier than what the audition was to get to play to people like that. I think the auditions were a lot worse than actually the gig.
Yeah, I mean, if that footage is anything to go by, how meticulous Michael Jackson is, I bet the rehearsals were insane, weren't they?
Well,
the auditions.
Yeah. On that, sorry, shameless name drop here, but I have actually, we did an evening with Greg Howe as well at Absolute, and Greg famously took Jennifer's position when she left the tour. So I've met two of Michael Jackson's guitar players, which is really weird, and Greg's experience was no rehearsals. Greg's experience was like getting the call, and I think he was on a flight within 11 hours. So he literally stayed up all night, brushed up on all the material, downloaded everything that he could have. I don't even know if he was, what era that would have been, how much technology would have had to help him, but he basically got as prepared as he could, and then did more on the flight, literally because they had a show like that night or the next day, and so completely thrown into the deep end. That must have been
so terrifying.
But he just said
I've had a
similar
experience. I've had a similar experience. Actually, playing for another female guitar player, a pedal steel guitar player, called Sarah Jory, and I sent like an audition tape in, and I got a call. I think this was something like on the Tuesday or the Wednesday or something, and she said, "Oh yeah, I really like it. That's great. Yep. How are you fixed this weekend?" And I went, "Huh? What?" She goes, "Yeah, Thursday to Sunday. We're in Belgium. If you want the job, you're in." And I was like, "Oh my God, I've got a day to learn all this set." And like, it's sort of like no pressure or anything like that. I was like, "Oh right, where's the first gig?" "Oh, it's it's a festival, so and so. There's it should be good. There's about 18,000 people there." I'm going, "Oh my God." I got a day to learn it, and then we have a day rehearsing, and then we're off. And it's like, oh, no pressure.
Completely the opposite to what the whole music industry is experiencing now, where we've all had the best part of an entire year to get ready for our first gig back. So
yeah. And I bet we'll get to like a week before going, "Oh, I should look at the guitar now, I guess."
Oh, you know it, yeah.
Oh, it's definitely the way, because what do you prepare for?
I know.
I mean, we've got it planned. Don't worry, Chris. Don't worry. There's 2 routes we can go down, so it's okay. But by the end of this month,
gig
we'll
or
know
no
which
gig
route to go down. Yeah, Tesco's or guitar shows.
Yeah.
You're listening to the Guitar Heroes podcast.
There's clearly, I don't even want to call it an inequality, because I don't know whether the difference is in the fact that there's so many men in rock and blues and guitar orientated music. I don't know whether that's any kind of discriminatory choices, or whether it's just something that men are naturally more attracted to that type of music and that type of I don't know whether it's the industry has gone out of its way to make that so, or whether it's something. I mean, you're going to get differences. You're going to get differences in certain things that men are just more inclined to do and would enjoy more. And there's plenty of female-led industries also that aren't necessarily manufactured in that way, but women just prefer to do that type of thing. Because I thinking about this today when we were coming on this podcast, I'm not necessarily ashamed to admit that I did have to go online and Google, as maybe you did, Phil, to come up with that list. I went on Google and I stuck in female guitar players, because it's not that I go out of my, of course I don't go out of my way to actively avoid female guitar players, but the list in my head is just so much smaller in terms of names that I can recall from memory. I know a lot of those names that you said, and I sort of go, "Oh yeah, she's great." But they're not necessarily household names or even
No.
household names
Yeah.
in the sense that they're music that I would listen to on a day-to-day basis. And I'm flicking through all these names, and the list that I put in, Phil, is basically everyone that you've mentioned. We've got Orianthi, Bonnie Raitt, Lita Ford, Joan Jett. But there's something going on there, and it's
There is.
interesting. I don't know what it is, but there's something going on.
No, I've been trying to figure it out myself, and I was, like you said, Lee, I went on to Google. I know a few, but like you said, my list is very small off the top of my head compared to the male guitarists that I know. And one thing I came across on Google was that in Rolling Stone's 2003 list of the 100 greatest guitar players, only 2 female guitar players were mentioned, and that's Joni Mitchell and Joan Jett in 2003.
Yeah.
And I look at that and go, that's insane, because Jennifer Batten isn't even mentioned there. And she probably composed those guitar parts for Michael Jackson on some of those songs. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, man.
Do you think it's just that women are better singers? And we all know that being a good singer is a better paid gig. I mean, you look at music in general, look at pop music, the most profitable form of music that there is, and it's dominated by pop stars
I think, yeah,
definitely
maybe
dominated by females.
I think women are more sensible, to be honest. And no, seriously, I do. I think women are more sensible. I mean, you don't can't imagine too many women being like Joe Walsh. You know what I mean?
They don't feel the need to show off, do they? Whereas blokes like us, we're just like,
maybe that's
we
what it
want to
is.
get the guitar out. But yeah, one of my female guitarists I chose for this podcast today is Bonnie Raitt.
Yeah.
And she, like, aside from being a female singer, songwriter, and guitarist, she's one of my favorite musicians of all time. Anyone who doesn't know, she's an American singer songwriter whose songs kind of range between like blues, folk, pop, country, and even rock as well. And she is actually recorded and toured with some of the best session guitar players in the 70s. But she didn't actually make it to stardom until the 90s. So 20 years of just solid gigging, songwriting. And it's only in the 90s where she released her 11th studio album called Luck of the Draw. And this is actually 91. And that, I think, she got a Grammy Award from that album. And the third single she released from that album is I Can't Make You Love Me. I Can't Make You Love Me, yeah. And that became one of her most successful singles. But my favorite performance of that is off an album called... I wrote down here one sec. What's the album called?
So if I want to go away and indulge in some Bonnie Raitt, then what should I? I've got my phone now. I've got
Okay, so you want to go and check out Road Tested. It's a live album from '95, recorded in Oakland, California. And the version of I Can't Make You Love Me is just, it's so stunning. Like, it literally makes the hairs on my back stand up, and it's just incredible. And throughout the whole album, her guitar playing is just so good. There is one track on there I can't remember the name of, and it's like she just sings and plays like a blues, like a 12-bar blues, and the stuff she plays is just so good. And it's
Road Tested. Right, I've got it there.
It's not like she's showing off or anything, but what she plays is of so much. It's got so much maturity to it, and she knows how to deliver a great performance on the guitar. And yeah, there's also a really good song on there called Rock Steady, which is a collaboration with Bryan Adams.
I've heard that. Yeah,
that's something else as well. But yeah, she's awesome, and I then started going into today. I was looking into the gear she's used, and throughout her whole career, she's used pretty much a 1969 Strat. And as she says here, one of her biggest tips to any guitar player as well is find the right guitar and stick with it. So she found a 69 Strat, and she paid $120 for it at 3:00 in the morning.
Wow.
$120. It had no paint on it, but she said the price was right and the pickup sounded great. And as she's always been inspired by guitar, her favorite guitar heroes have always played Strats. So, but this is where I was going to jump into Chris's corner, because I'm thinking about it.
Chris's
and
corner.
Yeah.
We've got a Chris's Corner this week. It's
I
been a
thought we
while,
were
Chris.
already there, to be honest. But
Yeah, we're already there. It ties in really nicely. And
do you know what? We've had 18 episodes of Chris not doing anything, and now we can't shut him up. Good God.
Can I cue you music, Chris?
It's that beer he's
go on.
got there, isn't it? He's
Go on.
drunk. He's off it.
Right, here we go.
Oh, what a good size.
Oh, for the first time in a while, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Chris's Corner. Shall we cue the music? Chris's Corner.
So Bonnie's raised tip: find the right guitar and stick with it, guys.
Yeah,
I don't think
I take that off. Done that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Chris,
I don't
Phil,
think
you've
I
just
found the right
interrupted Chris's Corner. This is
It's-
Oh
it's
Chris's
fine.
shit!
Corner.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
You just
no.
you just made it clear that you've achieved something that I haven't, and I'm still on a quest for. I haven't found the right guitar yet. I don't know. I still like I listened to what she said, and this guitar that she's toured with all her life, and I'm like, I don't have that guitar yet. Like,
Do you
I
think
don't know.
sometimes that's just a case of a bit like what I was saying last time about getting too bogged down in specs? And I think sometimes we're just too fussy. I think a lot of those people, a lot of these iconic artists that had that iconic guitar that they just stuck with, it was almost like a forced bond because they maybe didn't have the means to get another instrument, or they didn't necessarily know that there were other choices out
no,
there.
exactly.
Brent
So they just-
Mason. Exact prime example is Brent Mason. When he went to Nashville, couldn't afford more than one guitar. He needed something that did a Strat as well, so he found this Terry, put a middle pickup in it, and that's all he had for years.
I really think there's something in that. I've heard Dave Grohl talk about this in the Sound City film, where he talks
Yeah.
about this idea of restricting your creativity. So the reason these old records sound so fantastic and the musicianship and the performances are so good is because they only had a set number of tracks to work with. And when you limit what you can work with, you actually force yourself to be better. I've heard Jack White talk about it in the film It Might Get Loud. He says the same. It's this kind of like simplistic approach. So if you just limit yourself, I'm going to make a record or I'm going to do a gig and I'm just going to use one guitar. We're only going to record to 12 tracks. We're only going to use one amp rig. I think it almost forces you to be a bit. You find your voice quicker, and I think that sometimes if you just have a guitar and you just stick with it. So Phil, this is me talking to you, and you're telling me that I'm stingy. What I'm actually doing is I'm being creatively restrictive, and just stick with something and just work with it, and hopefully the magic will come from that.
But it's got to be up to par, hasn't it, Lee?
Yeah. But that's the thing, though. When your living is just made out of playing guitar, you don't want to have just a bog standard guitar. Because there is obviously, like you say, Lee, there is a bit of a choice paralysis, isn't there? Out there,
Yeah.
There's so much you can do with the spec of an instrument, a guitar, and there's so much you can go out and buy, and there's so much information now on what you can do to your guitars. But yeah,
I
think
actually find that. I know we talk about Helix and those types of products a lot, but I actually find, I might have already said this, but those types of products can give you option paralysis, where you've just got so much choice that you just get bogged down in that, and you don't actually get down to what it is that you're doing.
Yes and
playing?
no. Yes and no. I mean,
Well,
look at my Helix. And what amp do I always go to?
Well, yeah, if you can be like that, but when the temptation is there, so coming back to like what Dave Grohl was saying, if the temptation of Pro Tools is there and endless tracks, you will do endless overdubs because you can. Whereas if you've got 12 tracks to work with or 24 tracks, it forces you to be restrictive. So actually this week, this is nothing to do with this conversation. I had no idea that it would tie in. But I've been doing some work, I've been doing some recording and some writing, and I've basically just made, I just went new preset, and I made one single rig that I intended to work with for multiple tracks. And I'm not going to change it. It's like one amp, a couple of pedals, and 2 guitars, and I'm just seeing what I can get out of that. And like instantly for me, I found it more creative than having oodles of choices, Random side note, but
again, it's different. It's down to the situation you're in, isn't it? If you're on a guitar show like this, where you
Obviously,
need all the
yeah,
different
no,
sounds.
I'm not talking.
It does become very difficult, but obviously in a creative sense, you can limit down what you want to use, and when you're writing your own material, that's when I think you can do away with all the options, can't you? And just have that one thing, that one sound. And
well, some of these iconic records that we think were so pioneering. I mean, look back at like Hendrix and Floyd and all these people that really pushed this idea of like layers and different textures in your music. Yeah, they did that, but they did it without much gear. You know, like Hendrix, what did he have?
Yeah.
He had like tape flanging in the studio, and he had fuzz face, but they just made those pieces really, really work. And yeah, I was.
You know what, guys?
What?
I'm going to bring us back on topic a little bit here.
Have we drifted?
A little bit. Because you know, when you talk about female guitar players and male guitar players are never happy, right? They're never happy. I mean, you know, when I spoke to Jennifer Batten that time, she doesn't like changing her rig. She wants a rig she can fly with. She's had the same pedal board for years and years and years. You know, you look at Bonnie Raitt, the same guitar. Nita Strauss, she's got the Ibanez that she's been playing forever, which is now a signature model, and she also, if there's a rig rundown, because she's really famous too, there's a premier guitar rig rundown of her with Alice Cooper, and she's I forget what it is it Rocktron or something that she's got some, and she's had that for years and years, and female guitar players seem to do away with all the technical bullshit, if you like, right? And they just concentrate on the playing, and whereas we're always going, oh no, I'm sure it'd be better if I had this pedal. Oh no, this pedal's going to make me into Jimi Hendrix. Oh no, this pedal's going to make me into somebody else. And like, we're never bloody happy. You know?
No. I tell you what, and it's true, because the time I was most happiest with my playing was years ago when I first started. I had a massive Silver Jubilee 4x12 Marshall cab and a 1959 SLP Marshall head as the Pulkosov thing, and I had one pedal. I had my dad's 82 Les Paul and a red Snapper overdrive pedal by Menatone. That was all. I didn't even have a tuner. I just tuned by ear, and that was my sound. I had a clean sound from the amp, 100 watts, and then a bit of drive from the pedal. I used my volume pot for a boost, and it was great.
Less
and
is more.
now there's just so much gear. All these guitars and
less is more. Really is. Right, guys. I don't usually do this, but I want to get a little rant off my chest here, if that's okay. I'm just gonna go into this. We don't have any theme.
Phil,
music.
he's gone really pale.
I might have to use Phil. Can I use your jingle for this and just maybe put my name on it?
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
Shall I cue you in then?
Please do.
Okay. This is a world first, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're sitting comfortably and get ready for the white knuckle ride that is Lee's rant.
Rant. Okay, right. Now I'm aware that this could get controversial quite quickly, so I'm going to watch what I say here. And I want to be clear from the outset that I am by no means directing this towards female guitar players. But if you are in any way active on social media today, you cannot help but be aware of this growing wave of, shall we say, influencers, or certainly large social media accounts that are essentially very attractive females flaunting a lot of flesh, but maybe holding a guitar, noodling their way through a song.
Where do you find these, Lee?
You can't help but be bombarded with this kind of stuff every day on Instagram, and it always kind of angers me that these accounts get thousands and thousands and thousands of followers. And I'm not talking to anyone that is a legitimate musician or any of these accounts, because of course there are some very naturally beautiful women that are fantastic musicians. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that are clearly in it for another reason, and it's just to either let's see. You can tell this is a difficult subject to broach.
Let me just fill my glass up a bit more.
Okay, so I'm not even aiming this at the people themselves that create these accounts, because obviously if you're an attractive woman, you have every right to do what you want to do and make an account, and if it gets loads and loads of followers, that's good for you.
And chances are Lee will be following you.
I guess where I'm aiming my rant is maybe at the corporations and record companies and all this that then jump on that and actually start to financially support those accounts and make those accounts more credible. So what it's not unusual to see is you might come across an account, they've got like 5 posts. They're clearly a fairly new player, but they're very, very nice to look at, and as such they've got 150,000 largely male followers, but also they're now getting the recognition and the support from big legitimate music brands. So that might be Fender, Gibson, it also might be record labels that are essentially just looking to sell product to that market. And I guess what it's doing is, on the one hand, it's going to discourage genuine musicians because they're going to think, well, is that what I have to do to get that kind of recognition? Do I have to flaunt what I've got? And
I'll tell you what, Lee, I'll try it. I'll try it. The next few posts on Instagram, I'm going to show a lot more flesh, and we'll see what happens to my Instagram account.
Well, we'll all be keeping our eyes on your Instagram account there. if you have any more of that port, it could get interesting.
Unfollow.
But more importantly, to the genuine female musicians, I mean, I can think of a few offhand that are really, really fantastic musicians, but aren't interested in wearing a bikini in their videos, and as such, they're not getting the recognition. And it's almost creating this culture that is what you have to do if you want to be a female guitar player. You have to pose scantily clad in bikinis on your bed, playing a John Mayer song, or you have to just casually pose by the pool with your acoustic guitar. And because those accounts are getting the support from Fender, Gibson, whoever it might be, or record companies, they're sort of making that the legitimate standard for what the female guitar player looks like. And I don't think that's I don't think that's healthy. I don't think it's going to take things in the right direction. I actually think it's going to be more discouraging to the majority of genuine female musicians that are going to look at that and go, well, I'm into guitar. I'm not really into that, but I guess I have to do that to be considered.
And also, it affects guys as well, because we can't do that.
Well,
as tastefully.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sure.
It's like, what can we do?
I'm sure we can all think of loads of guitar players that are fantastic musicians and have maybe, they've got no support, no recognition from these big names, and only a small number of followers and supporters compared to these other influencers, if you want to call them that. I don't know. I just think it. On the one hand, you've got sexual equality arguments, and you've got obviously people campaigning for women's rights, which we absolutely should be. But then you've got industry supporting this idea that women should just do that to get recognition.
Well, speaking from an employer's point of view, if we were looking for a female guitar player in the guitar show, which to be honest, we were talking to Jennifer Batten about doing something together, and obviously COVID and everything happened, and everything's just all on hold now. But if we were looking, say we wanted to do feature female Bonnie Raitt, or something like that, Lita Ford in the show. If we were looking for a female guitar player, if I was auditioning people, I would purely be looking for the best musician.
Yeah, which is
the best musician, the best performer. Not necessarily the one that's trying to show the best assets, if you know what I'm saying.
Which is absolutely the right way to go about it, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I dare say that Story of Guitar Heroes ain't going anywhere for a long time. As far as I'm concerned, it's kind of up to my retirement, is that show. So we will be having female guitar players in the show at some point. I do say, and yeah, it will come down to that. It'll come down to the best person for that position.
It just comes back to the problem online and really in the world at the moment is that marketing is everybody's just trying to market something, and everybody's just vying for attention, and vying for your time on social media. So these brands are looking at these women that are attracting a lot of male followers, and they're going, well, hey, we can shift some guitars through these accounts. And then all that does, like I say, it just builds this impression to the genuine musicians that if you don't fit that model, I mean, I guess this is kind of the age-old thing, and I'm sure there's lots of industries, whether it be acting, whether it be modeling, you know, everybody's been talking about this kind of stuff for years now, trying to make things more diverse and equal. But I don't think people are, I think it's a fairly new thing in the guitar world that you're seeing these types of accounts and influences. And I just think it's going to be.
It could be a good thing that, you know, you might go see see a princess playing on the bed that can only do 2 chords badly, you know, if that's the case. But if she influences another female, a younger female guitar player that, you know, I want to play, and turns out to be, you know, the next best guitar hero that ever lived, then that influencer's done a great job, hasn't she? Because she's influenced somebody that has really taken to it and is really a player. You know,
definitely. My concern is that those accounts would do the opposite, because really what the focus is there is not the musicianship, it's the appearance. So
I think if someone's a serious player, then I mean, you know, Jay, she said that, you know, obviously Jay's a pianist, guitar player, singer. That's all she's ever done all of her life since she left school, you know. So she did say that, you know, I wasn't as committed as what you probably were when you were a youngster, you know. I had other things to think about, you know. I did think about my hair, I did think about makeup, you know. I mean, Lee, you may have done, I don't know. but you know, the girls do have other things to think about rather than blokes that just kind of focus on that thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it'd take a little bit longer, but I think if the musician is inside, then I do think you know, I think they'll come through, and I think there will be there. And I think that on the guitar show as well, when we do the meet and greets at the end, or when we used to 12 years ago. And we used to do the meet and greets. We did get a lot of female guitar players coming up to us, and I'd noticed since I've been doing the show in the 6-7 years I've been doing the show that it's getting more regular that female guitar players are coming up at the end of the night. You know, saying, "Oh, I'm into Slash, I'm into Joe Satriani, and all that type of thing." And we did Coventry a few years ago, and there's a big uni there, our college, and. You know, so we go to the college and study guitar, and there's loads of females that came up at the end of the night saying that, and I think that's really good. And I was going to kind of going on a bit, but I was going to kind of leave it on a really good sort of.
Yeah, I just want to, you know, it's hard to get these things across on a
yes,
podcast.
It is, yeah.
And obviously it is a sensitive subject. I'm aware of that, and my point is definitely. We should be support, or brands, industry should be supporting. If it's a guitar company or if it's a record label or something, they should be supporting quality players and quality musicians and quality music, regardless of what gender that is. You know, they shouldn't. A guitar brand shouldn't be supporting someone simply because of how they look and almost disregarding their playing. Because then what you're saying is, we don't care if you can actually play guitar, but if you look good, Fender are going to support you. And so to the young, aspiring female musician, they're going to get discouraged by that instead of encouraged, as they should be, because they're going to go, well, unless I look like that, you know, I've got no chance being a guitar player. And that's wrong. That's not the case.
I think eventually talent does shine through, though. I think you just try not to worry. It's easier said than done, but just try not to worry about what other people are doing and just focus on your journey. And obviously, we are in that digital age. We're knee-deep into it at the moment, and everyone is craving attention, even manufacturers as well. They're all competing. Yeah. If you've got PRS supporting, you know, female guitar players like this who necessarily can't play but just want the attention, then, you know, Fender are potentially and if PRS are doing well from that, then, you know, making sales, then, you know, Fender are going to want to jump on it too. And
but at the end of the day, I think live music will never go away. All right.
Exactly. Are you gonna pay tickets to go and see these female guitar players in a show?
I'm not.
So. No, exactly.
No,
you know,
I ain't going to go watch that rubbish. You know,
exactly. And I think this is where this is where talent comes through. You can go and watch Joanne Shaw Taylor, who's an incredible blues guitarist who doesn't have to do this to get the attention. You know, female guitar players. Go and look at someone like that. Go and look at Bonnie Raitt. Go and look at these are great examples to look up to, I think. And
well, I want to leave it on this. I'm going to leave it on a cute moment. Okay. This is really great. Is this? I love this. Today, Jay was having a conversation with her best friend, and her best friend's got a little daughter. She's 4 years old, and she's the sweetest thing ever. And her dad has just bought a little mini bass guitar. You know, little like
like a short scale. Or something.
It's shorter than a short scale. It's like a mini bass.
Wow.
And she loves it. She loves this little mini bass guitar, and I'm just thinking, oh, she's 4 years old. I'm thinking only another 12 years, and then I can get rid of Lee. That would be great.
Well, my daughter Marley, she's 6, and I've already got her started, and we literally sit down and she literally sings along. I literally will just at bedtime where you would normally read a story to your kid. I sit there with my guitar and I just play. I just randomly make up some chords and stuff, and
she says, "Daddy, shut up."
Well, that'd send me to sleep as well, Chris. So yeah, good job.
Daddy, stop playing those horrible jazz chords.
Yeah, don't like jazz, Dad. Play Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
I think they say, is guitar playing, is it dead? And everything, and I don't think it is. I think it's as alive as it's ever been. And when we all go back to live music, I think it's going to be a fantastic thing, and all these youngsters that are coming up, and it gives me hope when you see a 4-year-old getting excited by a bass guitar, and that I just think it's brilliant.
Oh, it is.
It gives me hope when I see anyone getting excited about a bass guitar.
Lee, do the socials.
Okay, if you want to find us on Instagram, you can search Phil Walker Guitar, Chris Anthony Guitar, or Lee Troy Guitar. You can head over to Facebook, where you can search Phil Walker Guitarist, Lee Williams Guitarist, and Chris Anthony Guitar. You can search for the Story of Guitar Heroes on Instagram or Facebook, or head to the website www.storyguitarheroes.com. Chris, are you playing jazz chords under the socials?
No, I'm trying to play that Bonnie Raitt song we did earlier.
And of course, don't forget the YouTube. You can head over to Phil Walker Guitarist, where you can see behind the scenes videos, and keep an eye on Phil's social accounts, because he did say earlier that he may be posing in some underwear for us all soon.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you guys. I hope you've all enjoyed the podcast this week. I think next week we've got a special guest on with us.
Oh, lovely.
So looking forward to that. Not going to say who it is, but it's going to be a good episode. It really is. I was going to say you've met him before. I've just told you it is. We've only had one other guest on, haven't we?
You've given it away. Who is it?
Away. No, it's our drummer Alan Varnfield. And
oh, what?
Yeah, we're gonna lower the bar and talk a little bit of drums, I think. But it'd be great to have Al on, and we're going to. I think we all have a little bit of a conversation about what's happened through lockdown, and looking forward, and all sorts of things like that. Because I think the light is at the end of the tunnel's getting brighter for us all now. So it'd be nice to have a bit of a chat about that.
Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds good.
Coolio.
And I'll see you guys next week. I look forward to it.
Yo, over and out.